Hello, welcome to my channel, another Bibliophile Reads. My name is Greg, and I'm doing another random questions tag. This tag was created by James Holder, and I was tagged by Jim's Books, Reading, and Stuff. This tag has 15 prompts. Number 1, what is a book you don't want to admit you hate or dislike? I've mentioned this once or twice before, but Persuasion by Jane Austen. I read it for the first time last July, for Jane Austen July, because I wanted to participate in that popular reading event, and I just did not get along with that book. Part of it might be that I saw a movie version with my wife decades ago, a movie that she really likes, and a movie that I thought was rather ho-hum. And the book, again, I thought was rather ho-hum. It's well written. She does her characters well. Jane Austen can be very witty, but it's just not an interesting book to me. It's just, I did not care if Anne ever married her sea captain. And I know from watching the movie that Anne was going to marry her sea captain. And for that reason, it just did not settle well in me. So, a very popular book by one of the BookTube's most favorite authors, perhaps, just did not work for me. Prompt number 2. Are there any author's work you haven't gotten on with that you want to revisit? Well, yes, that's going to happen in November. It's going to be Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. Earlier last year, there was a video from Michael K. Vaughan who listed that as one of the great classics of all times. And so I picked up a copy on Audible and started listening to it. And I just did not get along with that book again. The character of Heathcliff, he just did not jive with me. And I just did not really care for the other characters. The setting was kind of neat, but I will be reading that again for my in-person book group. And I believe it's going to be November of this year. So like it or not, I am going to be tackling Wuthering Heights again. Prompt number 3. Is your TBR outline or pantsed? Pants is just sort of an interesting term. I'm pretty much outlined. I've got most of what I have to read already on a TBR many months in advance. And a lot of that is my own doing because I join a lot of events for BookTube that I know are coming up. I have 2 major projects of my own to read about American presidents and to read all the books that have won the National Book Award for Fiction. So I'm booked pretty solid for the year. I do get an occasional book that I can squeeze in now and then, but those are getting rarer and rarer. In many ways, I'd like to get more into that not knowing what I'm going to read next, but it looks like even more so, I'm building a TBR. Prompt number 4. What is your favorite BookTube reading event? Well, I've only been on BookTube 2 years, and I've only participated in a couple events more than once. The first event I ever participated in was maybe Midrash, and I did that the first year and the second year. So I'm going to do that again this year. So it's going to be the one that I have participated in the most. And oddly enough, I think it's the least successful because every year I pick books that I wind up not liking for maybe Midrash. That's my own fault because I'm trying to be too sly and too diverse. Pick things I think I'll like this year. And also, another favorite is, of course, Garbogust perhaps the greatest BookTube event in all history. And we're going for Garbogus 2, The Electric Boogaloo, in August, and June on the Range for the second year. I don't know why, but I'm looking forward to June on the Range also. Prompt number 5. How many works does it take to decide if you like or dislike an author's work? Well, I have fallen in love with an author at one book. It's rare, but it does happen. I mentioned that on my live show earlier today. George Perec wrote a book called A Void, which is a lipogram, and a lipogram is intentionally leaving off one letter when you write. Now, what that means is you just have to use words that don't use that letter. You just don't skip the letter and misspell it. You have to use words that don't include that letter. And it was the letter E. It was originally written in French, and in French and in English, E is the most commonly used letter. And so my translation was more of an adaptation, but I absolutely loved that book. It was just so inventive and so creative that I fell in love with an author at one book. That's kind of rare. I've actually read other books by him and not have liked them as much. If I had read those other books first, he wouldn't be a favorite author. So we'll say 1. But to be safe, more likely 2 or 3 for usual authors. Prompt number 6. Which of the 7 deadly sins do you experience the most? Sloth. I love sloth. It's so much easier to be slothful than inventive. To have a morning and afternoon and evening open with nothing to do but to nap on my sun porch with one of my cats. That is pure bliss. Total sloth. And I totally love it. Prompt number 7. Which of the Olympian gods is your favorite? Can I say Pan, the goat god, the pipes player, the pipes of Pan, the half goat, the Styre, the goat-footed balloon man who whistles far and wee? That is Pan. I don't know if he's a god or just a Greek being, but we'll call him a god for Arthur Machen's story, The Great God Pan. 8. What is your go-to special meal? I'm going to say Jaeger Schnitzel, which is a German dish. It's like a veal cutlet, breaded. It doesn't have to be breaded, but it's usually breaded, covered in a brown mushroom sauce. Occasionally you'll get a white mushroom sauce, but I like the brown mushroom sauce. And with that Jaeger Schnitzel, you'll get Spätzle, which is sort of a German noodle dish. And of course, if you're going to a German restaurant, you're going to have German beer. Maybe a big, thick, dark German beer. That's where I usually want to go for my birthday. Jaeger Schnitzel, Spätzle, beer. But no Rotkohl. I don't like cabbage. Prompt number 9. Do you attend local celebrations, fairs, festivals, markets, etc.? Not recently, since we moved to Fredericksburg, Virginia. When I lived in Washington State, we were very close to a Puyallup farmer's market. And my wife and I loved to go down to that farmer's market on a Sunday morning, late Sunday mornings. And she would shop for some fresh fruits and vegetables, maybe some flowers. And at least at that farmer's market, they had the best food trucks that you could ever imagine. There was always a wide choice of food. They had Philly cheesesteaks. They had this, not a Thai place. My wife got where was it? Filipino, I think, something like that. Where she got these dishes that were cooked in oils or fats or something, and it was just very delicious. I don't remember, because I usually went for the steak and cheese. They also had a South African place where they had some sort of chicken that was just doused in some sort of sauce, and it was absolutely delicious. Prompt number 10. Do you prefer the city, suburbs, small towns, or the country? Unfortunately, I have lived in the suburbs most of my life. I have not been able to escape them. I actually think I would enjoy the city much more, because you could have a nice condo, you could have an apartment, you could go out in the evening, take the subway or the trolley or the tram, go to a bar, get stinking drunk, and stumble home and not have to worry about driving. You could go to an art museum. You can go to the theater. You go to bookstores. Out in the suburbs, there's jack squat. Nothing's out here of value whatsoever, except a lot of people just living their lives, not doing much of anything, and being slothful. Prompt number 11. Are there any BookTube videos that you have a hard time making? I think an individual book review gives me the hardest time, because I'm very much off the cuff when I'm filming these. I don't have a script. I really don't have any idea what I'm going to say. When I hit the on switch on my iPhone, I just open my mouth and see what words tumble out. And that really doesn't work very well for a book review. You got to be organized in your head and get all your points down and clarify what you think about the book. And I just don't do that very well. Prompt 13. What subjects were your favorite in school? Literature classes, where I read books. Always been my favorite. Always will be. Prompt number 14. If you could go back in time and change one thing in your life, what would it be? That's a very difficult question. I think I have done rather well. I do not have an outstanding life. I do not have an extraordinary life. You would never open it in the big book of lives and pick this out and say, Greg's got a really interesting life. But I own my home. I'm retired early. I've got a wonderful wife. I got some wonderful cats. And I don't have too many financial worries. But, could I have changed something? Maybe when I was in my 20s, I would go back and accept a job offer I had to work for a book distributor in Brooklyn, New York. It was in a terrible part of New York. You had to be escorted to and from the subway by the employer because it was too dangerous to walk the streets. But I think I really would have loved to spend a few years living in New York City. Of course, I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my house. I wouldn't have my books. I wouldn't have my cats. Who knows what I would have? Interesting to think about. Who knows which one would have been better? Mine, that was pretty good. Prompt number 15. Are there any childhood entertainments that you still engage in? I think I have given up all my childhood engagements. I used to play with my toys. I used to watch TV. I used to do role-playing games. All of that has gone by the wayside. So I'm going to say no. Well, that's the end of the 15 questions. And now, tag people. I'm going to tag Bad is Rad 2, Big Hard Books and Classics, Book Time with Elvis, The Booklectic, and Ms. Reads a Lot. Thank you for watching, and keep on reading.